everyone, welcome back to the Intentional Youth Ministry channel. So glad that you joined us today. Today I want to take a couple of minutes and I want to talk about some practical leadership stuff with you. I think a lot of times in student ministry we can be a little bit one-dimensional. That's a word you'll hear me use quite often throughout, but I do believe that we become a little bit one-dimensional in our approach when it comes to leaders. Oftentimes I'll see youth pastors and student ministries who have built their entire leadership team around adult leaders. And they don't engage the young people. They don't really engage this idea of students leading. And then I've also seen on the opposite end of the spectrum, I've seen churches who their entire focus is just on the student leaders, young leaders, and they kind of write off older leaders and focus on just the student leaders. Just to be very honest with you, I think that both of those can have a negative impact on your student ministry and what you're trying to build. I think it's super important that we have a good balance of both. And in fact, I'll never forget, I remember in the early years, probably the mid years, if you will, of student ministry. And for the first time when I started to manage some other youth pastors and directors, things of that nature, some of the conversations I would have were around this idea of older leaders being obsolete. I'll never forget, I had one young guy at the time who was kind of new in his role as a youth pastor who someone had given him the advice that anybody who was really over kind of like, I think he said 35 or something, shouldn't be leading in student ministry. And it was a great coaching opportunity and just a moment where I got to share with him that it's dangerous and really irresponsible to write a leader off because they're over a certain age or because they're under a certain age. And so, some of the best leaders that I have had over the years were leaders who have been older than I am. And so I think it's a huge mistake to just write somebody off because of their age, because last time I checked, God has called us all and we all can make an impact in the kingdom. And so I would encourage you with this. So when I'm thinking about student leadership and adult leadership and why they're so important, let me just sell you, if I can, for a second on the importance of both. So they're very important in both for two completely separate reasons. Adult leadership is super valuable to your church when it comes to their ability to mentor and disciple. Also, especially if you find yourself in a seat where you are a younger youth pastor. Right now, if you're younger, I know for me, when I started, I was 20 years old and single. And so if you find yourself in a similar seat, can I just tell you, man, if you can surround yourself with some adult leaders who are older, it's going to also add a lot of credibility with the parents of the students that you're leading. So adult leaders add value because they're your mentors, your chaperones when you do trips. They add credibility. When it comes to student leadership, there's a different reason why they're valuable. Now, they're just as valuable but for different reasons. One is, talk about a great way to see exponential growth in your student ministry and in your church is by empowering young people and letting them buy in and have ownership in your student ministries. This is a great way. I promise you, if you start investing in student leadership, you will really start to see exponential growth happen in your student ministry because now they have ownership and they have bought in to what you're doing. The other thing with student leaders that is so valuable is with student leaders, you've got to think about it this way. You are developing and creating the pipeline for the future, right? You are literally shaping tomorrow's leaders. I can't tell you how many young people we have that started out with us in middle school and in high school who were student leaders and involved leading small groups and involved in our worship, who are now in full-time ministry, on church staffs as pastors, as worship leaders. But it all started because we made a choice as a ministry and as a church to invest in student leadership. And so I highly encourage you, don't just be on one side of the spectrum there, but grab a hold of both of those, student ministry, adult ministry. Understand that they both have great value to your ministry. And I just encourage you with that. We're going to be talking a lot about leadership stuff. I've got a lot of really practical stuff when it comes to taking care of your leaders and how to empower them effectively. So we will definitely be talking some more about leadership in the episodes to come. So God bless you guys. Have a great day.